Hello everyone, Niklsun here, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. I'm your host, and on this show, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we'll be breaking down all the day's movie news and going over what it means for the production in general, such as casting decisions, trailer announcements, director announcements, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's get started with today's Hot Topics. Now, just quickly before I get into the topics, I did want to wish all of our American viewers a happy 4th of July today. But our first topic today, actually our first two topics today, are dealing with the all-American hero. They're both dealing with Superman. So the first story is Warner Brothers and DC have actually released the first full official image of Henry Cavill in the new Superman outfit. It's very similar at first glance to the one that was seen in Man of Steel. There's only very minor changes that they've done to it, but one of the most striking things that I noticed from it was how much bulkier he's gotten. Henry Cavill has, I don't know how he did it, because he was already really big in Superman, or in Man of Steel. And seeing him bulk up even more, because, I mean, if you look at what Ben Affleck looks like, even outside of the suit, but even in the Batman suit, the dude is massive. Like, he's a giant telephone pole, essentially. Like, those are the size of his arms. So it would make sense for Superman to look like that. And there's a picture here that shows what he looked like in Man of Steel and what he will look like now in Batman vs Superman. And you can see just especially in his chest and in his shoulders, like, he's a lot bulkier, he's a lot bigger, but it just fits with what Superman is known for, especially in the comics. In the comics, he's always been a massive juggernaut. Like, still average size human, like 6'2", 6'3". Well, no, that's not average size, it's a little bit taller, but the fact of the matter is that he has gotten a lot bigger. But the subtle differences that they've done to the suit, I really like. Like, they've made the belt more apparent. The belt was very, very minimalist in Man of Steel. It was just a little tiny yellow line that went around. And now this one, like, he actually has a new belt buckle, and on the belt buckle it has the S symbol. The belt is more defined and brighter and wider around the waist. The thing, luckily, he still doesn't have his red underwear, which is great. But even smaller differences, like the boots look a little bit different. It's all just little nitpicky updated things. They haven't changed a whole lot. They just made it, like, he got bigger, so I mean, he looks more like the Superman that we've come to know. But another thing as well, in the photograph, if you look in the background, it's our potential first look at what we're going to get from Gotham, like what their version of Gotham is going to look like. Obviously, Gotham in the comics is very gloomy, very dark. This is showcasing more of the industrial section, one that we didn't really get in the Dark Knight movies. You can see all the smokestacks and all this kind of stuff, and it's unique to see the Superman photo with Gotham in the background. So I guess that means that we are going to be leaving Metropolis with Superman, not just as an audience, but actually Superman himself is going to be leaving and potentially going to Gotham, which would be pretty cool. And so, I mean, we now have our first official look at Batman. We have our first official look at Superman's new look for this film. Zack Snyder also came out and said that he has not filmed any sequences whatsoever with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. They have filmed scenes with her as Diana, but she's not filmed any sequences as Wonder Woman yet. The one thing that I took away from that means that we're probably not getting a lot of Wonder Woman, that this is a Batman and Superman story. They are, however, including a lot of other characters. But that's not a problem, because, I mean, you look at any movie and it has a lot of characters, but what it almost seems like they're doing is any sort of secondary character or anything like that that's involved in this film, they're making them a character from the comics, or at least from the lore of these characters, which is pretty cool. That actually leads me into my next topic here in a second. But yeah, I mean, we finally have a new look, and I was tweeting with somebody else earlier, and they were saying, like, well, the colors look different on this. Like, the blue looks a little bit darker, the red looks a hell of a lot darker, the cape looks different. And I mean, I almost wanted to laugh at them, because the color grading on the photo is different from the color grading in the still that was taken from the first Man of Steel. You can tell just in his face. He did not go from regular complexion to gray face, or almost gray face. So I mean, all the characters have all the colors have just been muted in the photograph. So I thought that was kind of funny that someone was actually telling me, like, no, they've changed more than that, because they said, oh, they changed the belt, they changed this, and that was about it. But I thought that was kind of funny. So anyway, we have this. If we do end up getting a picture of Wonder Woman, this all, by the way, a lot of people are assuming that the ramp up of material we're getting for this movie is because of the big reveal that we are going to be getting at Comic-Con, whether that be footage, which is not looking very likely anymore. But on top of that, all the announcements of the extended DC Cinematic Universe, or whatever they're going to call it. Oh, one other thing too on his suit, his wrist gauntlets. In the first one, they were very close together, and then they kind of spread out as they went up a little bit. This new one, they start off that way and they go up further on his arm. It just looks more streamlined. These are little details that you're probably not even going to notice. Like I actually had to look at the photo to notice certain things, like the M on his boot, and they said that on these ones they now have a double M, so it's an M and then like a little banner underneath it that's the same thing. Those are all the types of differences that we are getting from this picture. But if we do end up getting something else from Zack Snyder or DC or Warner Brothers involved with this film, I will definitely update you guys on here. All right, and so our next topic here is again dealing with Batman versus Superman, or sorry, Batman v Superman. Latino Review is claiming that they have information on 3 more villains that are going to be appearing in the film. Now, I use the term villain, but I don't mean that they're going to be the twirling mustache, arch nemesis, super villain of the film. Lex Luthor is still, as far as we're aware, he's still the main villain of the film outside of the 2 clashing together, Batman and Superman. But it looks as though we're going to be getting 3, actually technically 4 additional villains in the movie. 3 of them are actually going to play bad guys of sorts, and then 1 is kind of shady. So the 3 that are supposedly going to be included are Victor Zsasz, Morgan Edge, and David Kane are expected to show up. Now, Victor Zsasz actually showed up in Batman Begins. He was when we're introduced to the Scarecrow, Jonathan Crane's character. Victor Zsasz is actually the one who's on trial, and the whole thing with Zsasz is he uses knives. Excuse me, he uses knives, and for every victim that he kills, he carves something on his body and on them. As far I may be remembering that wrong. There's a lot of characters that are similar to that. So I mean, to me, they could be using him kind of the same way that they used him in Batman Begins, but a little bit differently. The way I see them using Zsasz in this film is to cold open Batman. Cold open means, a perfect example of a cold open would be X-Men Days of Future Past. Before we're even introduced to all these characters, there's an action sequence. That's a cold open. And I feel that this is going to be the way that Zack Snyder is going to introduce us to this new Batman, and he's going to be taking down Victor Zsasz. Now, doing something like that means you can include a character like that. Like, look at The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight had, or even Batman Begins. Batman Begins had Ra's al Ghul, it had Scarecrow, in the comics it was a League of Assassins, but it was a League of Shadows. So there's 3. Victor Zsasz was 4. Carmen Falcone was 5. 5 villains in Batman Begins. A lot of people forget stuff like that. And it's kind of a shame when people say, like, oh, it's got too many villains, it's overcrowded, there's too many people, there's too many this, that, the other thing. They can do it right. Look at X-Men Days of Future Past. I think that has set the bar now for movies that are planning on having all of these villains or all of these characters from the comics involved in it. I think that's going to be a starting off point. Anyone who's going to do a movie like this is going to look at that film and see, how did they do it? How did they do this right? How did they include all these characters and not seem overburdened? Like, give everybody their moment to shine. You don't need a lot of backstory on everybody. You don't need everybody to be connected. You don't need all that crap. So they could do something like that. Morgan Edge, on the other hand, is said to be a liaison to Lex Luthor. So he's going to be Lex Luthor's subordinate, essentially. Not necessarily a hitman, but more of a PR guy. One part of the movie actually is said he's supposed to be involved in a talk show against Lois Lane, like a discussion type deal against Lois Lane. And the hot topic right now with that is that Scoot McNairy, who was recently cast last week in the film, that's going to be the role that he takes. Although Latino Review themselves are stating that he is actually going to be playing the role of Nightwing. Nightwing is the continuation of the character of Dick Grayson, who played Robin. If they do that, that's going to be really weird to try to incorporate that into this realistic world. But I mean, I can get on that in another episode. And then David Kane is kind of the oddball out of this group. He's a 50-something assassin, like he's a mercenary. He has ties with both the League of Assassins as well as Bruce Wayne. Like, he actually, in the comics, now again, there have been several different versions of the origin stories of these characters. So this is not the end all be all. This does not mean that this is canon. This does not mean that this is the way that they're going to go in this film. But he actually did train a young Bruce Wayne, very similar to the way that that Ducard, Liam Neeson's character in Batman Begins, trained him. It's kind of similar to that. I don't know how they're going to use him in this film. I mean, they could just be using David Kane, just mentioning that he's in there, setting him up for future movies. We really don't know yet. But the last one is also Amanda Waller. Now, Amanda Waller, for those of you who don't know, she's been involved in Smallville. I think she's on Arrow in a small role, but the people would most likely know her if they did see the film from Green Lantern, the one with Ryan Reynolds. She was actually portrayed by Angela Bassett. And in this film, she's expected to be a senator who comes up with what's called an anti-Superman platform and a way to deal with him. Now, that was all that they gave away with that part, but my speculation on that is that she's actually part of the group that helps discover kryptonite, or the substance in this film or in this universe that's going to be called kryptonite. It's not actually pieces of his home planet, but there's also Silas Stone, Dr. Silas Stone, who is Victor Stone's father. Victor Stone is Cyborg. Cyborg, we know, is in the film, or at least Victor Stone will be in the film. I believe that she's actually going to be working with Silas Stone and discovers kryptonite, and that's how they start this whole, well, we can control him in a sense. We can figure out a way to suppress him using this stuff. That's my theory. Now, again, there's nothing to substantiate that. There's nothing at all. I'm just completely spitballing here. That is my theory. The final part of this article also went on to state that there are no other big villains that will be announced with this project. Metallo was one that was rumored to be in it. Doomsday was heavily rumored to be in it. And they've come out and said that no other big announcements are going to come out. Now, this could always be smoke and mirrors when they come out and say that, oh, by the way, Doomsday's the big villain in Batman v Superman. I don't know what they're going to do. But apparently we are going to also get a hint that the Joker has been a part of Batman's past. Now, whether or not he's fought him and defeated him, or he's come in contact with him and he's eluded him, we don't know. They just said that, oh, and look, the Joker will be mentioned in some fashion. They probably won't go out and say, and hey, that Joker guy, or the Clown Prince. They'll probably state about, and I hate dealing with these guys as much as I hate dealing with the guy with the cards. It could be something as vague as that. But apparently we are going to get a reference to that. So we have potentially 4 more villains on top of Lex Luthor in this movie. Minor roles, most likely. The only one that we have more concrete evidence about is Morgan Edge. Morgan Edge is more of a politician. He's kind of like the Justin Hammer of this franchise. When you look at Iron Man 2, Justin Hammer was a villain, but he was an industrialist. He was a businessman. He was an entrepreneur. He wasn't a he wasn't about munitions and having this massive suit to be able to fight and all this kind of stuff. He wasn't about that. So I feel that Morgan Edge is going to be that type of a villain, because that's how he's portrayed a lot of the times in the comics. But that's all we have on this right now. With Comic-Con coming up in the next couple of weeks, a lot of the news stories that are going to be coming out are going to be stuff like this. It's going to be about big movies. It's going to be about projects that I've already covered on the show. So I've already been getting some people messaging in and saying that you seem to be covering very similar topics, and it's, well, I mean, one of the reasons is because these are all the news bits that are coming out, and on top of that, these are some of the biggest projects ever, like Batman v Superman. No other film has been out like this before. The pedigree of these characters in this film is massive, and the anticipation of this film is growing and growing and growing. Not to mention the fact they just delayed the damn release date like 10 months to May of 2016. I mean, we were supposed to be getting it in 10 months. We were supposed to be getting it in a year. We were supposed to be getting it in July of next year. And that's not happening. We're not getting it until May of 2016. So, I think we're going to get another villain. I think we're going to get another big villain. Again, that's just speculation, because I mean, with everything that I talked about on Monday's episode, and I'm not going to spoil it on here, but for those of you who did watch Monday's episode and know what I'm talking about, I can't see the villains that they have lined up in this movie doing what was supposedly caused in what I talked about on Monday. I can't see that. I can see it being another villain of some sort, even just to introduce that character and continue on that storyline into another film. Um, I, I I still don't know if we are going to get any more announcements outside of what we already know, and then just WB coming out and confirming everything. I don't know. But as it stands right now, this is all we have on this topic. So if we get more information about this, I will definitely update you guys on here. All right, and the final main topic that we have to talk about today is a trailer has just been released for an upcoming film called Reach Me. And I was completely shocked by this trailer. This movie, to me, I had no idea what it was about. I haven't even heard of this project yet. And the trailer just debuted about an hour before I was going to record the show. It's an ensemble drama. The IMDb page states it is also a comedy. There's probably going to be a little bit of funny parts in it. But this, to me, screams this year's Crash. It looks like it's going to be a hard-hitting ensemble drama. It's about this group of people, this separate group of people who are all connected to a self-help book who was written by a reclusive former football coach who's played by Tom Berenger. Now, the trailer starts off, and the only problem I have with this, and it's because he's trying to become an actor, and I personally just can't see, he doesn't seem to be getting any better. But Nelly is in this film as well, and he's got those stupid giant diamond earrings, and I hate that. It's so douchey to wear stuff like that. But he's promoting this self-help book, and they have no information whatsoever on the author, the person who's written this book. But this book has touched the lives of so many people that it has become a massive success. And so then enter in Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone and Kevin Connolly. Kevin Connolly played E on Entourage. They play journalists of some kind, and they are both out to try to find out who wrote the book, because as Nelly states, there's no bio, there's just a name, we don't even have a picture, or I think they may have a picture, but they don't have any other information outside of his name on the writer of the book. And Sylvester Stallone's character believes that it's a pseudonym, and so they have to go and try to find him. Thomas Jane plays, I'm assuming he's either a cop or a bounty hunter, because he has a badge. He looks like he's straight out of the 70s, because he's got his hair, and he's got his bright red pants, and he just looks like he time shifted right out of the 70s. But he plays some kind of a hitman or a bounty hunter or cop who is trying to find absolution in what he is doing and trying to find reasons as to why he can't stop. And this book looks to try to weave together and combine all of these storylines about people who really require these types of courses, these types of classes, these types of books, interactions, all this kind of stuff. Because it's an addiction, but a different kind of addiction. They don't have the ability to stop themselves when it comes to physical violence or just impulsion or anything of that sort, and this movie looks to tackle all of that stuff. The cast also, it's got Sylvester Stallone, Thomas Jane, Tom Berenger, who's the character who wrote the book, Kevin Connolly, Kira Sedgwick, Kelsey Grammer, Tom Sizemore, Terry Crews, Nelly, of course. There's more and more and more people in this, like David O'Hara, who was in movies like he was in Braveheart. Was he on Sons of Anarchy? You'll recognize him if you saw. He was in The Departed. He's got that really thick, raspy Irish accent. Or is he Irish or Scottish? He's Scottish. Sorry, he's Scottish. I don't want to get any of my Scottish friends and Irish friends attacking me. But yeah, like this just completely blew me away. I'll put a link for the trailer in the description below. Definitely check it out if you haven't. It blew me away. It looks fantastic. I'm very much excited, looking forward to this film. If we get more information about it, or even a release date, because there's not even an official release date for this film yet, I will definitely update you guys on here. But as it stands right now, this is all we have for it, and I definitely recommend click that link in the description, watch the trailer. You'll be just absolutely blown away. All right, so now we get on to our user-submitted questions, and for the past couple of weeks, I haven't been getting a lot of questions in, but I actually just got a few this week, so I decided I would try to tackle them. So the first question is about Sherlock Holmes 3 and whether or not is that still happening? What's going on with it? We haven't heard anything about it. Well, essentially, everything is ready to go. They are doing it. Guy Ritchie is coming back for it. He's very excited about doing it. Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law have both been waiting to do this film. The script, as far as I'm aware, is done, or it just went under rewrites maybe a few months ago, just slight rewrites. But as far as I know, it's done. It's in the can. Um, all they're waiting for is for the scheduling to line up. Every time, like Guy Ritchie is currently shooting Man from Uncle, or he's done shooting Man from Uncle. Actually, he's currently editing Man from Uncle right now. Robert Downey Jr. obviously involved in Avengers. Jude Law, I mean, it's sad to say because Jude Law is one of the better actors in the entire bunch, but he's probably the least busy out of all of them. But it's always just when two of them are ready, one of them's not, or when one of them's ready, two of them are not, and it's just all about scheduling, just all about getting that stuff together and finding a right time frame. So don't worry about it. Sherlock Holmes 3 is coming. It is happening. Robert Downey Jr. is coming back. Jude Law is coming back. Guy Ritchie is coming back to direct. So we don't have to worry about anything like that. No changes, no reboots, no nothing like that. It's just getting the time frame right. When we do get more information about this, when they finally find a concrete start date or a release date or anything of that sort, I'll definitely update you guys on here. And the last question that we have to deal with today is one that I was actually asked a couple of weeks ago, and I just have not had a chance to answer it yet. So I wanted to answer it. And it was asking about the possibility of there was a Duke Nukem movie that was being written or being made a long time ago. Is that still happening, or is it dead in the water? Well, there have actually been a couple of versions of this film that they've tried to get made over the years. In the 90s, just after Mortal Kombat came out, the producer of that movie, and I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but he tried heavily to try to get a new movie made, and they were actually looking at getting Arnold Schwarzenegger to play Duke Nukem. And the main storyline of that film is going to involve aliens invading and attacking Duke's favorite strip club and him having to go on a rampage and destroy them all. It would have been terrible. I mean, you cannot deny that it would have been terrible. So that was shelved for a while, and then in the early 2000s, there was another attempt that they tried to do, but it never got past pre-production. They never went anywhere with it. Then in 2008, the producer of Mad Max, the Mad Max movie with Mark Wahlberg, he attempted to design a reinvented version of Duke Nukem for modern times. And that actually had some steam behind it. They actually, I don't know if he signed on to the dotted line, but they were very interested in, and he was very interested in being involved in it, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was very likely going to portray the role of Duke Nukem back in the mid to late 2000s. And I don't know if it was just scripting issues or anything like that, but they were a little bit behind, and they also wanted to tie it in with Duke Nukem Forever, which was the new video game that they were coming out with. Well, Duke Nukem Forever kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. It kept giving them more and more time to work on the film. Then Duke Nukem Forever was released. And it was one of the worst financial bombs in video game history. It was, like, people were asking for refunds. The game had so many glitches. It was like 3 hours long to play it, and then it was done. People really reacted negatively to Duke Nukem in general when that video game came out. And once that came out, the version of the film that they were working on at that point was pretty much killed. They saw how people who would have been interested in this franchise reacted to this new version, and they said, nope, this is stupid. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is not the Duke Nukem that I enjoyed, that I played with, that I did this, that, the other thing. It just didn't happen, and they shelved it. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb that there is nothing concrete about this whatsoever. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that in about 2 years, maybe 3 years or so, maybe even less, we're going to get an announcement that WWE Films is doing a Duke Nukem movie and John Cena is going to be in the role. Because if you look at them side by side, John Cena looks like Duke Nukem. He looks very similar to that character. So I can see that being a potential in the future, but as it stands right now, there is no movement whatsoever on a Duke Nukem film. If we do get more information about this, though, I will definitely update you guys on here. Well, that'll about do it for us here on Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. I've been your host. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have been a great audience. Don't forget to click subscribe in the bottom corner. You can get updates whenever I post a new video. You can also find us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/movie news with Niklsun. You can also follow me on Twitter at Niklsun, Niklsun, for all of your movie updates and information. Also, if you have a question or a topic that you'd like to have discussed on the show, you can email us at gmail.com. Of course, you can email us at gmail.com. At movienewswithniklsun@gmail.com, or you can visit our webpage at movienewswithniklsun.ca. You can find the link just right down here at the bottom, right there. You can go ahead and click that, and on the contact section, there is a way for you to actually send in your questions right through there. And then I will answer them on every Friday episode, along with a regular review of a new film. So, without any further ado, this has been Niklsun. You guys have been great. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.